to come on and do one of these roundtables is sweet. To have you guys, come in and answer some of these questions for us and do this is pretty cool. So appreciate your time, and we'll kind of get right into it. Just go around and introduction. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get right into the questions. So, Coach Treschitta, you're up first.
Kenny Treschitta. I coach the inside linebackers, and I'm the defensive coordinator at University of New England. Brand new football program going into our third NCAA season this fall. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Coach Carey?
Yeah, Spencer Carey. Originally born in Maine, born and raised in Maine. Went to Lawrence High School. Had the opportunity to play ball at UMaine under some great coaches who I looked up to and learned from, and kind of the reason I got into this profession. Defensive backs coach now at Bates College. Again, appreciate you for having me. I'm looking forward to this talk with you guys.
Awesome. Coach Nagy?
Yeah, I'm Rich Nagy. I'm the head coach at Allegheny College now. I was a defensive coordinator at Old Dominion prior to this in Western Michigan, and was in Maine for a long time and some other places. Too many moves sometimes, but I've been coaching for a while, and I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. And Coach Backus?
Jared Backus. I'm the defensive coordinator at Cornell, and in 2001, I was a defensive line coach under Coach Rich Nagy. So great to be with you guys.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to get right into it, fellas. I'm just going to fire questions at you guys, and we can kind of move around the horn and get as much of these as we can. And I know some of this stuff you guys may have talked on, before in your talks, but feel free to answer away. I'll start with we'll start with Kenny up there and just kind of move our way around. First one is how do you guys teach and emphasize takeaways and turnovers? What's your emphasis? Maybe a favorite drill that you use or a circuit that you use during the week? And how are you guys, trying to get that done defensively? So, Kenny, you're up first.
Yeah, we use the turnover circuit weekly. It's strip secure with first guy securing the tackle, second guy coming in and stripping the football. We work ball and sack, guys bending the edge and tomahawking the ball. And then we work a tip drill or an interception drill. So those are the three that we work. We work the turnover circuit during camp, and then we try and do turnover in our individuals during the week.
Awesome. And Spencer, how about you?
Yeah, pretty similar to that. A lot of circuit work during camp, and then kind of once we get into the flow of the season, it turns into more get it in during your individual period with everything going on. But again, we'll have 4 circuits going. We'll do the strip sack drill. We'll do second man in, stripping the ball out. Some type of hand drill, right? Whether it's the tip drill or we're just straight catching the ball. And then we always have a scoop and score drill in there as well, where we'll either tell them that it's clear and they're good to scoop and score it, or they got to get on it. There's a crowd around them and cover all points of the football.
Awesome. Coach Nagy?
Yeah, we'll work it during the season like once a week, because each day is a different emphasis skill-wise, and like to do it as a group at that point. So every coach gets to coach everybody, so to speak. So we run through a circuit there, and the only thing we do a little differently, I like with the scoop score and the fumble recovery with the cloudy clear. Used to do it like you were talking, Spencer, but now we'll throw 2 people out there to fight for a fumble, because I want to, give them the fight, and I want to see who's going to fight for the ball that's loose on the ground, and then do the clear when it's just them. And like in that one, it's like they got one chance to pick it before they go. And, the big thing is pushing down on the ball on the when they're trying to pick it up, as opposed to trying to scoop it. We teach push it onto the ground and then lift it that way, so we don't go fumbling it one more time. But and every day we keep track during all our periods, team periods and Skelly on turnovers, and we got to have at least 3 a day during practice, and if we don't, we'll do up downs or some type of punishment, so to speak, for it.
Awesome. Coach Backus?
The biggest thing that showed up this last year was when we tackle, making the guys ball aware. if the running back has they're in frontal, if the running back has the ball in the near shoulder, the near shoulder arm, the inside, or in relation to the shoulder that you're using, front side, I guess, to put your face mask on it when you tackle. And if he's got it in the forearm, to make sure that because we punch tackle, so to make sure that you punch at the ball. That showed up, that was good. So, we do the circuits just like you guys are talking about, but that was one thing that was a little bit different. And the other thing was, because we don't always have the time to get the circuits in. And to be honest with you, I got a couple of times where those were like cut out. So, we've had at times we've challenged, positionally in Indy to make every drill that you do end with a ball disruption. So whatever if you're a D-backs coach, can you be creative enough to every drill that you do, have it end with a ball disruption? And just like the guys just talked about, putting a great emphasis on it. So those were two things that were big.
Awesome. I want to talk to you guys specifically about the scheme you're using and how you're lining up to some different sets or adjustments you may have. So, in your base defense, team lines up in 2x2. How are you guys lining up to that? Walk us through that for a minute, and then talk a little bit about if there's some differences between ball in the middle of the field and ball in the hash for you guys. Kenny, start with you.
Yeah, 2x2, middle of the field. We'll default to the quarterback's hand, so our left, his right. So we'll rotate and we'll spin our coverage that way, whether it's quarters or whether we're fixing the rush in our 3-4 stuff. So we'll rush opposite the quarterback's hand in our quarter stuff. If the ball's in the middle of the field, 2x2. It's something we're cognizant of. If it's 2x2 middle of the field, we like our 2 deep stuff or our 2 read stuff, and it's something we try and be cognizant of. Maybe less inclined to do it if it's on a hash. Again, playing 2 read to the field, long run for that safety. So that's kind of 2x2 what we do there, middle of the field, and how we're setting our split field coverage. We'll set it, and it will set our rotation to the 2x2 middle of the field to the quarterback, to our left, quarterback's right.
Awesome. Coach Carey, how about you guys at Bates?
Yeah, so similar. So we're a 3-4 base package, quarters base coverage. We're also going to set to the quarterback's passing strength. Good thing about our defense is we're mirrored. So at the end of the day, if we for whatever reason do a line opposite of that, or for whatever reason, our guys are still good to go, and we should know what we're doing. We'll stay in our quarters kind of playbook there for the most part. We'll mix in some of our cover 2 stuff, but as Kenny kind of hit on, it's a lot of room for your safeties to deal with, and all of our pressures are still a go in the middle of the field as well. And then once we get into kind of on the hash, that's when we'll get into kind of our split field coverage. We can kind of play some games to the boundary there, getting into our cover 2 world, and whether we're trapping our corner, messing around with our will backside there. So that's kind of how we mess around with our 2x2 sets there. And another thing I hit on, especially with my DBs, is understanding kind of the splits of the wideouts and what we're getting with those splits. I'm a big splits guy. I think especially in our league, there's a lot of tells out there with where the wide receivers are lining up and what they're going to get to. And also just understanding how much space you're allowed and how much space the wide receiver is trying to get you out and for what reason. So that's kind of some of the stuff that I hit on in our 2x2 stuff.
Awesome. Coach Nagy, how about you?
Yeah, well, it all depends. Like the 2x2, if there's 4 wides, we're the same way. We'll go quarterback's hand strength to declare strength. But, if it's 11 personnel with a tight end split, we'll go to the 3 receiver side. If it's, it just depends. Or if there's 4 wides and we feel that the 1/3 kid's better, we'll tilt the coverage more to his side and try to stay in quarters or 3 deep. Stay away from the 2 deep unless, both safeties are really good, because normally, one of our safeties is a good off the hash guy, into the boundary and can't cover the field, so to speak. So it depends, with straight 2-deep coverages on our ability more than anything. But the man frees, the 3-deeps, the quarters, try to stay with all that. And the only thing we'll do too with our outside linebackers and quarters, if it's 2x2 spread type stuff, is sort of midpoint and then a step closer, backs away, and midpoint a step to the receiver, backs to you. Because the way I try to teach it is like, backs to you, you're out of the box, and then the other guy, the guy where the back's away, he'll be in the box because he'll have more reaction time on a bubble because there's no back there, so he doesn't have to worry about reading through the mesh part of it, so to speak. So it's just doing things in those regards.
And you guys are a 4-2-5 team, correct, Coach?
Yeah, 4-2-5, like in 4-3 principles, the whole thing. It's all the same. It's just trying to match speed with speed more than anything. So most of the time it's been more 5 DBs these days. Plus the other part I found is usually that field outside linebacker, because again, I'm trying to get guys who can run. So that field outside linebacker, more times than not, has been a former safety in his lifetime. And I used to always have those meetings with them where I bring them in and tell them we're moving a linebacker, and they get all pissed off. And now I just tell them that we're playing nickel, and they just do the shit anyway. So
Thanks. Absolutely.
Just less conversations.
There you go. Thanks, Coach. Coach Backus.
I think the one thing that jumps out at me is when, if you see it, when we see a 2x2, we like to line up exactly balanced. You have a 2x2 formation and it's balanced. If it's, if it's same speed to both sides, it's nice when you can line up and the offense doesn't see you tilted one way. So if it's a 3-4, you got a 0, a pair of 5s, 2 outside backers, 2 inside backers with a 2 shell. Or if it's a 3-3, it's a 0, a pair of 5s, a 10 linebacker, a linebacker in each crease, and a 3 shell. So we try to line up, if they're balanced, we're going to at least be balanced initially to not let the quarterback, know where, our strength's going to be. That's one thing that we do. And then we'll also try to line up, if the ball's on the hash, we'll line up, some of the structures field-wise, but we'll also call strong. So I think like one of the coaches mentioned, if you're getting, we see a lot of 11 personnel, if they're giving, one of the inside receivers is a tight end, and they're trying to get the 2 speed receivers into the boundary, that you can get your strength over there. I think that's important. So however your defense is set up, that you can call it that way. So.
There we go. Awesome, fellas. Let's go to 3x1 and empty now. You're getting your standard trips or tight end trips, or then a lot more teams going empty than they used to be. What are your adjustments there? I'll start with you, Kenny.
For empty, we'll carry 1 or 2 empty checks. Our lead empty check is what we call special, which is palms or pattern read off 3 and 2 with the run force and the safety. So it's to the 3 receiver side. We're going to X out the field number 1. He's man to man with the corner, and then we're playing read off of number 3 and number 2 with the our Sam outside linebacker and our field safety. And then to the boundary, we're playing half field coverage, cloud coverage. So our corner's cloud, our boundary safety's playing half field, and then our inside linebacker is vertical curl off number 2. So we call that special, and that's our lead empty check. We've also checked drop 8 to empty as well. With our 4th rusher is now the spy, and we'll drop 8. So those are the 2 things we've done to empty. If we have a pressure on, we stay in the pressure and check 3 deep, 3 under. So we don't check out of a pressure, but we'll any of our base calls we'll check special or drop 8.
Awesome. And how about 3x1, Coach?
3-by-1, our lead call is solo, with the weak safety playing 3 vertical. We've also played area quarters to 3-by-1 as a changeup, where the safety will apex number 2 and 3, the corner will apex number 1 and 2, and our Sam will drop out as like an area or curl flat drop for the Sam, and our Mike's working through 3. So those are the 2 checks we've used to 3-by-1. Solo, where the weak safety plays 3 vertical, and then true area quarters where our safety and our corner are apexing 1 and 2 and 3 and 2.
Awesome. How about you, Spence?
Yeah, so we're pretty similar. In our base call, we'll just steal the vertical of number 3 with our free safety. If we start getting messed around with backside, because we rely on our boundary corner to kind of lock that thing by himself. So if they start messing with us back there, we'll go kind of what Kenny's special is. We're playing the exchange of number 2 and 3 with our Sam backer, who's kind of a hybrid safety guy for us, and our strong safety, which will free up our free safety to stay backside. We do a couple things with him, whether we're bracketing the number 1 receiver or playing cloud. And another thing we got to this year too, we call it 20 whack. We'll put our will out over number 1 to the boundary, and our corner will become the half field player that way, to that side, and we'll trap our will, so it looks like a kind of like a 2-high shell, but our will's trapping on the snap, and again we'll keep our free safety to steal the vertical of number 3, but just another change up with our will. Again, he's not huge on getting collisions out there, but just to give that presence out there, and then on the snap he'll trap inside to be a factor in the run game. And then as far as empty goes, we did a variety of things. We didn't get empty a whole lot, and I think for us it depended on who they were going empty with. So a couple teams went empty with their running back, and our outside backers, like Coach Nagy hit on, are kind of hybrid safeties. So sometimes we feel comfortable with that matchup where we can just lock the backside and keep our quarters principles the same, or we can go our cover 2 shell to the boundary and keep our quarters to the field as well. So a couple change ups for us there.
Awesome. How about you, Coach Nagy?
Yeah, our base 3 by, like every coverage I always work with all the. So if we want to stay within a coverage, so to speak, we could stay within the coverage. So if we were in quarters, we'd go like to the solo call, like Kenny talked about, and do those things. And, but if I want something with it, I'll tag it. Usually like the base part for us, we tag it with what we call white, where that's playing that man to the field number 1, then playing, basically read 2 between 3 and 2. And then on the backside, it's either sky the safety down for support, or we could trap the corner too. Right now, we're more of a roll down sky support with the safety, just because our corners aren't as good in run support. It's been easier, and then when we do that weak side corner is more of a cheat half player, so that we're maintaining inside leverage. And again, the big thing with those guys, I'm always trying to tell within that cheat half is know what you can and can't get beat on. Like you can't get beat on a post. You can't get beat on a vertical. You get beat on an out. And if you're covering the out, you're going to get beat on the other 2, because it's up to that safety to get underneath that. So it's just, trying to do that part with them. But, we'll go through initially and then have the system where you double call it so they know what to get to with 3-by-1 open stuff. And then, basically empty. Every coverage, again, has an empty check to it. We can go in with base checks if we think that it's true empty, or if I know it's 5 wides, I'll make a call, an empty call that I want. But if it's, the running back extending, then is it because he's motioning back in to form it? Is he going to shift back in? Like once the running back in there, I think it's a little trickier, but that's why each coverage has the, built in, and we work. I think the biggest thing is just getting them to understand, it's got to work from the weak safety to the strong safety, because whatever the strong safety handling 3 to his side is different if we're bringing the weak safety over to help on 3. If he doesn't get that call to help, he knows he's got to get into certain calls to do it on the front side of what we wanted. But and again, it's a safety measure too, because if the weak safety screwed up a 3-by-1, at least I know we're good to the 3 receiver side. if he's jammed up on what he should be in. So it's sort of a progression across the board type thing. And like I said, that weak safety's got to trigger it, for us to know what's going on. So if it was empty per se, he'd call what the coverage would be to two receivers his side, as opposed to the free safety's calling, what he needs for the three receivers his side without the trigger going on the other part of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Coach Backus?
Just to add on what these guys, those were all, basically you heard the full Monty of what you can do to 3x1s there. Just the one thing I would add, because that's basically what you do, what those guys described. We'd given too much credit to who number 3 is. So, like, sometimes we'd be playing coverage all over this guy in the 3-hole that never went vertical. He looked like me. And so if that guy is a guy that can't run or, never really is a vertical threat, we won't waste the safety on the guy. We might ask our Mike to, take care of the Mike's gap inside. And, hey, if you get a quick run pass read, you take them, with no help over the top, and it still lets you play 3/2 to the 2 receivers, to the 3 receiver side, and it lets your backside safety and weak linebacker and corner stay there for, coverage over the X. So that's one thing that I think is important to us that we've made a mistake on. We've over-covered 3. And then the other thing is if you have cover 3 built into your package is to, we call our split field coverage 4, and then, we'll 4 check buzz and be able to disguise like you're in your split field coverage and, spin that safety down, as the middle, one of the hook to curl players strong over 3. And, we'll make that look like it's split field and drop to it, or you can make it look like it's man and drop those guys down and show a 1 high look. And that's something that we've done that I think is neat. And the empty, play it, check it, or blitz it. So, try to just have a design where, like Rich was saying, everything's sort of built in. Hey, we're going to play this, and this is how we want to play it. Hey, we're going to check this because the running back's always if it's empty 32, they're putting the running back in the 2-hole and they're motioning them back in. So we don't want to be in an empty check. Just, adjust your coverage. Maybe you have the boundary corner and the weak safety come down and make a man adjustment there. So you're checking it to how you want it, or they're blitz it. And the blitz that I like is bringing the double A gap, Mike Will, out of a 4 down, pair of 5s, inside guys, and then the 2 inside linebackers right through the A gaps. And I think sometimes you can use dual response with the D lineman, meaning, if you're getting meshes and crossers, design your defense where you can get those guys, and if they get blocked, and they get a pass set, they can tickle the guy and pop them out and maybe get in a throw-in lane. So those are some things that, we try to do.
I like that, Coach.
Hey,
Play it,
Jared.
check it, blitz it.
Hey, Jared, quick question with you.
Yep.
3D stuff that you're
Yep.
doing, are you carrying any of the seams, or are you just playing spots? Like, how are you handling it?
We teach match and zone to the strong
Yep.
side, and the
Okay.
weak side we play spots.
On the weak side,
On the
match
weak side,
zone.
yeah,
Yep.
and
Gotcha.
and yeah.
Awesome. Jared, I'd ask another question too. How difficult is it, and what's your kind of adjustment when teams motion to empty? Like they take, instead of bringing the tail back in from empty and putting them in the backfield, the other way around, where they're starting it in the backfield and then they're motioning them out.
Yeah. Well, obviously, if you're in man-to-man, like we'll have the post. Like, say we're in a man-free coverage, where you're playing man-free, however you guys do it, or you're in a 5-man pressure with a post player. Because we've gotten, I've made it we've made every mistake on this one too. So we'll try to let the post safety always handle the H sail or fly motion, so we don't let them remove the Mike or Will out of the box. So let the linebackers stay in there and say initially to start, not saying that's the right thing, but you're not going to remove our core guys. You know, you'll remove our core guys when we want you to remove our core guys. So we'll let, you know, in a one high man coverage, we'll let the post defender take him. And he says, I got it. And he takes him. That tells the guys in the box they can stay in there. If you're getting quarterback, like you get, you know, H sail or fly, and then you got a good quarterback and he runs quarterback draw on you all day. So we'll do that. And then if it's pass and you want the linebacker to cover the guy, then it's basically you got it, and then the linebacker takes the H sail or fly or whoever else it is. You know, for us it would be our Mike or our Will.
Awesome. Coach Nagy and Coach Treschitta, I want to go to you guys on this one. How do you handle unbalance, like tackle over or even a four-man surface? What are some things that you have, built in for that? Kenny, we'll start with you.
We'll kick the front or roll the coverage. So linebackers make a kick left, kick right call, and something we go over in camp, and something we practice on our Friday, run through our Fast Friday. We always go over unbalanced. We always go over it in camp and install it in camp. Kick the front, and then if they go like end over slot, end over slot with the two splits with both of them covered up, we'll roll the coverage there. And it's something we drill in camp and something we cover every Friday. So we're going to kick the front to unbalanced, end over slot, we'll roll the coverage.
Awesome. Coach Nagy, how about you?
Yeah, it's the same. We anything that's like an offensive lineman over, we call it ox. So, and I think we use the same terms, Jared, when you were there, but we just ox. So it's the big dumb animals, the one that's over. So now we're just recentering the front. So everything gets kicked over gap. We've recentered the front. We're good to go. No problems, no issues. They just got to understand that in blitz game that gaps will change. That the guard is now really the center. So it's just getting them to understand that, whether we're in some type of field or over or under type set. So it's mostly for the two tackles, because the ends come out. They normally see a tight end tackle or whatever it may be. And, because everything's based with the tight end, sometimes with sets. And then anything with receivers, it's really the same way. The only thing that, I got to teaching about a few years ago with the linebackers, particularly the weak side guy, was he had to understand widths. What was it, a by one, by two, or by zero, we say now. So if there's a tight end or less over there, it's by zero, because you have a corner that'll be involved with the run game, so to speak, unless we do something with the corners over. But so he's got to kick over another gap and bump the mic over. So everything sort of works itself out, so to speak, when it's the tight end over, with the linebacker alignments, and then also, the coverage aspect will take over, and it's just, and we'll make a call with it. So that weak safety should be the one or the weak corner should be the one who's, signifying it. And, we just make what we call brewing, brewing. So as soon as they hear brewing, everybody knows what's going on. And same thing when you get the one where that X receiver's off the ball and he's getting ready to motion, so we'll give a brewing alert. And there's times we have brewing checks, and we know it's most of the time you're going to run the ball or do something back to the, the unbalanced side. So we'll do a full line shift, and a lot of times just blitz that corner off that edge too, just because there's nothing from the cover. There's no receiver coming over. Just try to quicken up the thing and get another rush guy if it happens. So that, that brewing part is a big thing for us. And, the tough part is the teams who will get with the H and start balanced, even though he's off, motion him, and then try to come back to try to block it. But then it's just like a line movement with backers flowing over quick. So it's sort of trying to take advantage of those things with the receivers over, because I think you can take advantage through blitz game with it, and then you start seeing a lot less of it, so to speak. And we were just dicking around, to be honest with you, when I was at Maine. Like Rob Smith was the secondary coach, and we'd sit there and leave the corner standing there, and it's like, hey, what do you think will happen if we blitz this guy? And it's like, I don't know. So it's spring ball, so we just started unloading them and caused our offense a lot of havoc. And so we just kept going with that. And like I said, we didn't really face many problems, with that one. But it was just, again, having the like I said, just we did it, and now I see less and less of it, because even if we go into a game and a team has a lot of it, that little blitz will take care of it and scare people out of it, because they can't protect it unless they bring something back on it right there. So I think you can take advantage of that. And then, like I said, the other ones, it's just recentering your front. Once you recenter the front and they understand that, then it's not an issue there either.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach. Spence, going to slide over to you now. You said you pay a lot of attention to splits with your guys in the secondary. When an offense compresses their formation and really cuts those splits down, what are you telling your guys in the secondary, and do you guys adjust your coverages at all to that?
Yeah, so that's a game plan thing for us too. For me, I tell my guys that the wide receivers are aligning where they're aligning to get to where they want to go. So whether they're compressing and stacking, whether they're just compressing the formation, but they're still away from each other. If we stack, typically we can play it two ways. So we either check to a cloud, look to that side, or we started getting to this year, and our guys did a good job picking it up. We'll call either Frankie or Susie. So if we go Frankie, it's the corner's call, and he's letting the safety know that he's going to take one wherever he goes. Obviously, he can cut it under, keeping our quarters principles, or vice versa with the Susie, he'll take the second. But just making that communication, because they're aligning to stack so that they can try and stem you and divide you. So that's kind of where we hit on there. But as far as the splits go, I think that's different for every team. But I think, again, in this league, I think, there's only so many pass concepts our guys can get to. So understanding why they're aligning where they are, and what they're trying to get to, their scheme of their offense is big for us. And our guys have been doing a better job picking that up and learning how to watch film on their own, so that when we kind of get to our Tuesday practices, we're kind of hitting the ground running. They've already watched some film on Monday, and have an idea of what routes they're going to see from different alignments and things like that.
Awesome. Coach Backus, wanted to ask you about 2x1 sets with an H-back or those move tight ends that a lot of people are using now in the backfield to run power and H-counter and things like that. When you're getting a team that's going to give you a heavy dose of that, what's kind of your game plan to attack that?
Oh, when I become commissioner of football, we're going to outlaw it. Going away, we're putting them in pro formation the whole season. No, like sniffer sets through 3 wide receivers.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the thing that we've learned is that we do not want to give the offense 2 bubbles. Or like if we were in, say, a 4-man line, you had a shade 5 side and a 3 and, a 5 or however you're playing the side to the off, the Y off. We would always try to take away the shade 5 side with some type of a line stunt, or if it's a defensive lineman, go ahead and let him take the gap. So we would start there. And so no, we don't give them 2 bubbles, and we jump into a little double eagle. So you play a pair of 3s and a 0. If you have any 46 fronts in your defense, so there's no bubbles there. So don't give them the bubbles, and then don't put the linebackers in run pass conflicts. Make this, say if you have a split field coverage like a 2 high. Let the linebackers basically, play their gaps and, have their eyes. If the guy comes across the formation a lot, we would define that as like a hawk play, so make sure that they got their eyes in the right place, that we would key that guy, and let the safety, one of the safeties basically play like a quarter technique over the top of the guy. So if you're getting run action, linebackers can smoke their gaps or press their gaps, and that guy releases arcs and he's releasing, on a pop pass. Let the safeties go ahead and take care of that. So, and don't give them two bubbles. We learned that. I mean, this is the first time we've ever played any rush defense, and you're not going to get. We sort of lined up with two bubbles because it was like Grandma's Easter ham. You cut the ends off it because that's the way you did it. But we just stopped giving them two bubbles, and that helped a lot.
The other thing, Jared, I found with some of that stuff, it goes back to like, the old I two-back shit. You know what I mean? Like that H is the fullback, and he's your front side. He's going to tell you your front side, back side gap, so to speak.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it is like you said, it's tough to sometimes the falling back part's the hard part.
It's hard.
With you, everybody thinks it's easy, especially your secondary coaches.
Yep.
That shit's freaking, because I'll always come in and say, we're going to play man free and spin it, let the linebacker stay still. And I know it puts stress on the coverage, but I'm like, yeah, you guys don't understand the stresses up front. We don't do some of these things sometimes. I agree with you totally, though.
You take, and the one other thing is that we started, if you play a 5 technique, we started what we call, if you get one of those defensive ends on a counter OY guard with the sniffer coming back, we started to turn it back inside. We don't come under that. The outside knee of the first puller, and and try to change the numbers that way, and that's really been good. So.
I'm sorry, Coach, I couldn't hear you. You said you box or spill the pullers with your 5?
We turn it, we turn it back inside. We keep our outside arm and leg free, but we have that guy go ahead and attack the outside knee of the guard, the first puller.
Yeah.
And that's been good to us.
Coach Hath, I think you're muted.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Coach Nagy, Coach Backus mentioned motion there. When you guys get lined up on defense and a team uses some cross motion or, they put the H in that short motion across the formation, how do you guys handle that? Do you change your strength call? Do you check to that? Do you just play what you're playing? Or if you face a team that's going to motion a lot, how do you game plan that going in?
No, it all comes back to just trying to keep the stress off them, so to speak, and it's trying to teach, hey, this is 2x2, this is 3x1, whatever it may be, and we're going to check the coverage. It's just, and again, I've worked some places where guys don't want to check it till it crosses the center, like different things where I'm like, hey, we're going to check it pretty quick because I want to get into it and we'll deal with it. If it's short motion and we'll figure some things out. We might have to go to more man there because I think within the zones, if we're trying to wait too long to make the check, it causes problems. We're just going to have to deal with it as it moves through the area. But like I said, it's getting it checked as quick as we can. But the other part is getting the safety awareness that go through your checks before, and obviously some when you're facing a lot, it's easier for them, but you got to preach it from day one that, and I'll be back there with those guys quite a bit. Hey, that guy goes in motion. What are you going to? Just type of thing, just because I want them to anticipate because, I don't want that oh shit moment where it just went and they're like, what the hell am I supposed to go to? You know what I mean? So I want them to go through those check processes in the head. And, some of the best guys I've had back there sort of talk the secondary and the linebackers through it before it happens. Like, hey, this guy goes, we're going this. this guy goes, we're going this. Now, sometimes speed of the game right now, causes some problems with that part. But, I think it's just, knowing what your check is and, get it checked quickly and live with it. And if there's issues, change it, change the coverage, become more man or 3-deep oriented where you're not so much trying to tilt the coverage one way or another.
Awesome, Coach. Kenny, going to go up to you next. You're facing a team that's like a true zone read team. Like,
Yeah.
The quarterback's going to read it. He's a running threat. What are you doing in terms of your game plan with that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first, again, like you said, identify who's the threat and who do we want to stop. Do we want to stop the quarterback and have the tailback carry the ball, or do we want to stop the tailback and force the quarterback to carry the ball? So those are the questions you're asking Sunday and Monday in the game plan meeting and as you break down your opponent. If the quarterback's a running threat, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to our ends and our wills, our edge players are going to sit and squeeze and force the quarterback to give the football. All right. Or our quarterback player is going to be a second or third level defender. So if he's a threat to run, we're going to sit and squeeze with our edge players or make the quarterback player a second or third level defender, a linebacker or safety. And then pressure-wise, 2 off the edge, all right, force a give and bend. So those are the 3 ways we attack a running quarterback in the zone read. Sit and squeeze with our ends and our wills. Make the quarterback player a second or third level defender, a safety or a linebacker, or 2 off the edge pressure, forcing a give.
Awesome. Like it. Spence, just to kind of go in line with the mobile quarterback thing, if you're facing a quarterback who's a real dual threat, he can run, he can throw, he can kind of extend the plays and make something happen. What are you guys talking about in your discussions with your players about that? Specifically too, what are you telling the guys in the second and third level of your coverages on how to handle that type of player?
Yeah. So first off, it's never a fun conversation to have. I never want to see that, but for our guys, big thing, and it's tough. It's a tough deal to rep in practice too, because obviously you're protecting your quarterbacks. You don't want them extending plays too much in practice. But for us, I harp on matching whoever's in your zone when that quarterback leaves the pocket. So obviously that's easier for us if we're in our quarters coverage, where by the time that quarterback scramble around, hopefully those routes have developed, and we're already treating that as man-to-man. So at that point, we're already locked on to somebody. It gets dicier in our 3 deep and 3 under coverage and even our 2 high cover 2 stuff. But I tell them once that quarterback leaves the pocket, we've got to lock onto the guy who's in our zone. If there's 2, we got to apex them and favor the most dangerous. And again, something that we got to get better at too is to decide who you want adding in once that quarterback comes out. For us, we like to add our inside backer and kind of keep our better coverage guy in coverage, but we got burnt with it both ways. So just deciding who's going to add in once that quarterback leaves the pocket, and who's going to stay in coverage. And then at some point, obviously, we got to all be able to swarm to the ball and rally to that thing. But that's kind of just some of the things we talk about when we see a dual quarterback coming up, and we do have a couple good ones in our league. So.
Awesome. Coach Nagy, you're getting a team that's going to give you a lot of gap schemes. We've certainly seen a lot, in the offensive clinics here on the duo play, which has become a pretty hot one for offenses to run. And then obviously the counter schemes. What are you coaching your guys up when you face a team like that?
With a lot of gap schemes?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to, just be tougher than there. No, I don't know. It's, it's really a matter of the fits. And I think the biggest thing is like the linebackers with where they're fitting into things, particularly the backside backer. I always try to talk to the linebackers and the safety, where, your run fit's going to be a triangle, so to speak. And there's 2 outer edges to it. There's a middle. So if you're the outer edge, you're turning it back. And if you're the middle, you're running 2, and if you're backside, you're backside. And if it's a gap scheme in your backside, look for a run through, no run through, pop over the top. But I want them to hit it hard and try to hit it as fast and really, it goes back to like, to me, it's always like, where are you trying to run the ball? If you're trying to gap scheme it, you're trying to be an A gap to backside cutback type of gap scheme. Well, we're going to try to slam all the inside shit down and make you bounce it, because that's where you don't want to run it, and if you're trying to sort of get it on the edge, so to speak, now I want to build the edge up a little bit more and try to chase shit down from the backside. So it's, 2 different ways of looking at it. Like, and that's like when we sit and break down, the gap scheme stuff, my first thing is how are they trying to run it? Like when I was at, coaching against some teams, it's like ISO, power, all that shit. It's like moving ISO because they're trying to be in the A gap, and we got to do a great job of knocking it sideways, so to speak. And other teams are trying to like get on the perimeter. So let's just keep building as we go. Don't give them what they want. So, and then blitzing, if I'm blitzing, I like try to figure out how we can blitz it from the backside, because that backside tackle, encounters or gaps, he's the one trying to secure that. He's the 2-for-1 guy. He's trying to make sure B gap's good and still the edge. So if we can put him in conflict, we got a chance to run it down from the backside, as long as we built it up on the front side. Because I think sometimes attacking it from the front side, shit spits out too quick, and then it's hard to run it down. So it's a twofold dilemma, and all of it goes, even zone scheme. Sometimes it's going back to look at how they're running the zone play. Is it just, hey, we're zoning A, B, and all that, or are we 2 to the next level type thing? Are we both going to punch the down, try to get up? Where are they giving us gaps? Where can we create some leverages? Where can we do some things? So, I think both of them have good merit. And then going back, Spencer, like what you were talking about too before, just with the quarterback scramble situation. The other part I think that I always looked at there too, and still do, is if it's a quarterback we know who wants to scramble, we're gonna tell him where we want him to scramble. Sometimes it's his hand, his dominant hand, make him run away because he doesn't throw as well. Sometimes it's just into the boundary because we cut the field down. And I think with a scrambler too, you can wash things across his face and make him go where you want to go sometimes. So it's, it goes back to some of those things. But I think gap scheme's a great play as an offensive coach. I think it's really good because I think it causes you a lot of dilemmas, and you got to fit the shit right, and you got to be tough because sometimes it's I know when I coached with Coach Backus, his big thing to me was sometimes I have to give him something besides play tougher. And I'm like, yeah. Well, sometimes that's the only freaking answer I got. So, sometimes we got to figure that one out too. So, but it's just, and sometimes it's just trying to mess up their double team. Like, who are they? If it's a shade 5, they're going to try to double your 5 with the tight end and tackle. Well, can we move the line in there to get a 3 and screw up their double team, so to speak? So, again, just trying to mess up their counts and what they're trying to do.
Coach Backus, you're getting power read a lot from a team. What are you coaching you guys up on the power read play?
Tell the fucking defensive end to take the quarterback. All right? Don't run up the field. Now, power read, the quarterback, as the inside element.
Yeah.
You got to rep the play because everybody will be running, on the fast action. So you got to have the guys, the linebackers got to know that the linebackers and the D-line got to know that the quarterback's now the running back and the running back's the quarterback. If I'm right in saying that play, we've screwed up. I've coached that wrong. The other thing we've done is if we can get a bead on where the back is and which way it's going, we'll tell that defensive end or whoever the widest guy is on the line of scrimmage in the direction that the play's coming. Take away the outside element right now. So, go up in high gear if the back's here, and you got a guy in your defense here and it's going this way, let this guy go, and you're in a 4 down, let that D end run up the field and take away the outside element, and then let everybody else play the inside element, you know? Just try to do that. You know, I think that's the biggest one, and rep it, because, you know, they want it's hard read for the defensive end too. So if you don't have enough time to get them good at the read, you know, take it away with a scheme so at least you can play it right. You know, maybe the blitz, if that's their best play, then if you're going to blitz that week, design a blitz that takes that play away. And then you've defended it, because the reads are hard, man. You know, if you're a 5 technique, you're getting all the stuff Rich is talking about. You get counter OY, he's getting base block, and then all of a sudden he's getting, you know, this guy's shuffling a little bit, and then there's a guy going fast across his face, but it's really power, you know? And if he's little Jared Backus, man, he's screwed. So.
Awesome. Let me go to let's see here. Let me go to Spencer next. Facing a team that's heavy on the RPO game. You know, what are you liking in terms of coverage? And what are you coaching up your second and third level defenders on against that type of team?
Yeah, so first thing we kind of hit on, I think Coach Nagy hit on it. We're going to kind of dictate where we want the RPO to go with our outside linebackers alignment. So if that back is to him, we'll widen his alignment and kind of show him pre-snap, right, that he doesn't have that quick access. Now, obviously you have to understand what type of RPOs you're getting, whether it's bubble or speed out, or they're trying to hit a slant or a lookie and real quick off that mesh. But really, we switch up our coverages. If we're staying in our quarters world for the game plan that week, our safeties just have to know that we got to activate on the bubble. Again, depending on what kind of RPO they're getting to. But we can go our palms coverage too. We have that in where now we're working the exchange of the number 2. So when that guy comes out now, our corner should be driving it. But again, I think it depends on what kind of RPO you're getting. We got a lot of weak side RPO this year too, where now they're the running backs to the boundary, and that mesh is coming across, and they're working with their X, knowing that a lot of times we lock up with our backside, especially in 3x1. So that's where we get to kind of some of our 3x1 adjustments to help out with that RPO backside. But I think a lot of it's game planning, knowing what type of RPO you're getting, and then trying to fit your scheme as much as possible. But as far as the DBs go, we just got to have our eyes right. Understand at the end of the day, we have to be pass players first. Trust your eyes and drive on things that you think seem right, and then just rally to the ball at the end of the day. But again, dictate where we want the ball to go with our outside backers, and then depending on our coverage, just be ready to activate on that with great eyes.
Awesome. Kenny, if you guys get a team that's a really high tempo team, like you know, they're trying to get the plays off as quickly as possible. You know, how do you adjust as a defensive play caller to that, and how do you kind of train your guys during the week to be prepared?
Yeah, that's a good question. We see a variety of tempos from teams in our league, and our offense does it well using tempo and going hurry up. We carry 10 city calls, about 10 city calls, one-word city calls, and I'm going to share my screen with you guys here real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
You guys got my screen here?
Yeah.
Yep.
So we carry 10 city calls, and we build them through camp, base calls, pressure calls, and they're one-word calls that are a front, our stunt blitz, or our coverage. So for us, Houston, field front, will stunt, 4-check 3. And if a team's going speed ball, we're yelling from the sideline or signaling Houston. And it's one word, and our guys know, defensive linemen know it's a field front. Our will linebacker knows it's the will stunt, and our secondary and our back half know it's 4-check 3. And we build these 10 city calls up from the start of camp through the season, and they're just one-word calls for us, and try and have a variety of them so we can be multiple, so we can pressure. You know, you see our pressures there, so we can pressure in a tempo situation, or we can play 3 deep or quarters or quarter, half. And that's kind of how we handle tempo with our one-word city calls.
Awesome. Nice, Coach. I don't know if you guys can hear it upstairs, but there's either a big 2K or Madden game going on with my kids upstairs. It's transferred from the driveway. It's starting to get dark now. They're coming inside and doing that.
Coaches.
Coaches.
Do you guys do anything else besides one-word city calls? Coach Nagy, Coach Backus, Coach Carey? What else do you guys use to handle tempo?
It's the same. Like, I've gone to like where the entire playbook is based off of really concept. So if it's a man-free blitz, we're states. If it's a zone blitz, it's the same thing. It's cities. If it's bases or base, whatever. But same thing, just so we can get everything into a one-word call if needed. And, so we'll have entire, and if it's pace, we'll go through all the one-word calls, make sure. But, a lot of times, so, if I called like Maine, for example, we know it's a man-free blitz. So our secondaries in line or they know where to set the front, they know what to do. So it's the same. It's all the same thing. Just trying to get, started it like where it was 5 or, Western. When I was Western, because Bill Cubitt and Toledo, ton of that stuff. So we worked it. So we had like 5 or 6 calls, and it wasn't always base, but then it just kept expanding so that we could get the entire playbook in that way. And, the good part was too, coming back to, the corner play, like, because they're usually the last ones to figure it out, so now they knew exactly what the coverage was without me having to signal the coverage, because there was a point in time where you'd have the same blitz and call a different coverage with it, and there'd be screw up. So we had to, keep moving into that. And then, practice wise, the thing we'll try to do is get 2 offenses rolling as fast as, in practice. So, one runs a play and the other's running right up. So, we try to make practice even faster just to get that feel.
Yeah, I know. Just, speaking from a high school perspective, when we face some teams that are no huddle like that, we sometimes don't have enough guys to go 2 straight offenses. But we'll have like a one-word call we can give with the O-line to tell them it's either inside zone, outside zone, a pass, or a screen. And they just have that one-word call. And then we've got cards on the skill guys. And we can get 2 groups of skill guys usually to rotate in and get it done that way. So that's been fairly effective for us. Coach Backus, and then I'll go to Coach Nagy. You guys are facing a team with a pocket-style quarterback, likes to sit back there and can rip it. What's your best 5-man pressure? What's your best 6-man pressure you're going to bring against that guy to get in his face?
Oh, man, best 5-man pressure? Would probably go would probably stem into a double eagle, with a 0 and a pair of 3s and a pair of wide techniques, outside backers on the line with a 10 linebacker, one guy over that linebacker depth behind the nose, and would probably rush him with some twist games out of that, with those 5 down guys, because you can do a lot out of that, and you can also play some zones. So, and then you can turn that into a 6-man pressure by just bringing that, you can take the nose and bring him one way and bring the mic. And that's pretty simple. And you could do some of that. So that would probably be what, we would try to do.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. You're going to try to figure out the protection where I get whatever linebacker I can on the running back, as fast up through the middle, because I think just trying to get in his face and disrupt him and know that, that tailback's probably the worst guy, and then add the other linebacker who's in coverage off of him. So you're turning a 5-man into a 6-man real quick. And in case you jam up and get a cross protection, so to speak, you can still, get that other guy into it. Or doing some things like Jared said with some edge, coming off the edge and try to internal twist. But the biggest thing is trying to figure out the man side where we can sort of mess with that part a little bit to try to force them to either block you straight up or trade off some things.
Yeah, Spence, for you, you're getting a team that is just a quick pass game, like a lot of screen game, get the ball out early. Maybe you're having a hard time getting pressure because they get rid of it so quick. How are you going to adjust to that kind of scheme?
Yeah. So first thing, right, we're getting more into the press world, kind of late last year and then heading into this year. So I think that in itself is going to throw timing off with the quarterback on some of their quick game. Obviously, we're not going to press in the slot, but just having our outside backers aware, really repping as much as we can their run pass reads, having them snap their eyes out once they see high hat by that tackle or the guard, whatever surface they're reading, and then really just flying to the football. But again, I think biggest thing for our guys at this level is training their eyes, and a lot of things that I've noticed is, they're smart kids and they'll see the right thing, but they don't react once they see it. They don't, whether it's them trusting themselves or whether it's physical ability, but really just repping it as much as you can and having them trust their eyes and break on routes. But again, for us, in kind of my style, I want to be in wide receivers' faces as much as we can. So by us going press, that takes away the quick game from the number one receivers right off the bat. We got a lot of access kind of the first 2 games of the year. And to me, that's not the style that you want to play. And we kind of got out of that world where we wanted to dictate to them, they're not going to get 5 yards right off the bat. But it becomes an issue in the slot, and then with the number 2 and 3 receivers and 3-by-1s. But just training the guys' eyes, getting their run pass read as quick as they can and getting to their responsibilities.
Kenny, when the field gets shorter and you get down inside the 20, or even more specifically, like inside the 15, 12, like that, real low red area, what kind of adjustments are you making defensively? Is the change of personnel? Is it a little bit of a change in the front? What are you guys doing down there?
We won't change personnel. We'll match personnel. So if they bring in, we'll match as far as nickel, dime. We'll match personnel in the red zone or low red zone. It's all game plan. We have some specific red zone specific calls, whether it's a picket fence type deal or drop 8 for the pass stuff, and then man pressure or 3 deep 3 under pressure in the red zone and low red. We usually carry 1 man pressure, 5 or 6 man pressure, and a 3 deep 3 under pressure for the red zone. Or low red. Awesome.
Coach Nagy, what about you guys?
Yeah, particularly like low red. If we know it's a pass sit, we're probably going to show we're coming and bail into some type of matchup coverage. We can handle everybody. And again, it depends. Is it the slots? Is it the fades? What's the route we got to really take away because we may have to double a guy, but it's almost trying to trigger in the quarterback's head that he's got to get rid of it in a hurry. And then, like I said, drop I think when you look at things, a lot of people, the blitz picks up down there, where if you really look at my stats, the blitz probably drops. Like we don't blitz as much because, but we will blitz enough so the threat is there. But it's just, like I said, trying to get him to speed up and then get into something different and obviously stay out of all the half-field coverages because there's just not enough space for the safety. So it's more either quarters or split or like special coverages in the pass sit for the low red type of situations. High red, not as many thoughts, so to speak. It's just, once we get to about the 20, that's where I got to start to, think about how much room the safeties have to operate and what they can do at that point.
Awesome. Coach Backus, you guys are getting ready for a 2-minute situation. What are you telling your guys? What's on your call sheet for that situation, and how are you going to handle that?
Try to get them in. It's technique time. Try to, a lot of times we'll just play the same, tell them what structure we're in. We're going to play the same call. If the team's going fast, it'll also be like in our, no huddle. We'll play the same call until the ball stops. Maybe line up in a field defense, set our defense field wise so we can get lined up quickly and the guys won't be, matching formations and stuff and going to strengths and away from strengths and stuff like that. And just, telling them really to focus and use great technique, and obviously, keep them in bounds, man, lay on the guy. So, burn time. But the biggest thing for us is that if all of us, like you guys were talking about with the no huddle, like we'll just say, hey, we're going to play this call until the ball stops. So just stay in it, and obviously, and try to make the ball do what you want it to do, so.
Spence, what are you telling your secondary guys there too? Like, I think there's a fine line between, playing too much, playing too soft, and trying to keep things in front of you, and also at the same time trusting your eyes and your instincts and that sort of thing. So, what kind of message are you giving those guys in that situation?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it comes into the situation too. Again, we have smart kids, so we're fortunate in that way where they should know, first of all, the score, how many timeouts either we have or they have, and kind of the areas of the field they're trying to attack, whether they have a couple timeouts, the middle of the field still a go for them. If they don't have timeouts, obviously they got to get to the perimeter, but kind of break it down by area of the field. So obviously if we're on their side of the field still, we'll play that aggressive. But the good thing about our games, right, is we can kind of get a feel for it, and they're going to be able to hear us on the field. So we can, whether depending on what formation they come in, we can back them up or tighten them up. But try and keep it as normal as possible. Obviously, to some extent, you gotta back them up, but not have them overthink. And then the biggest thing for them is, again, knowing the situation as a whole. And kind of going back to the tempo thing. A good drill that we do that I hadn't heard before we got here, we call it a Bobcat drill. So we'll start on our minus 10-yard line. Our one offense is out and our one defense. We have two of our coaches 10 yards behind the defense, ready to spot the ball as soon as that whistle blows. So we'll run the play. Now we're on the 20. Offense has to sprint to the 20 no matter where the ball died. And then the defense has to sprint to the 20, and we're ready to go. And we'll go all the length of the field so we can get 10 plays in within a couple minutes. And a lot of times that's how we start practice, getting the guys' blood flowing and getting the competition, the juices going right off the bat. So that's a good thing, and I think that goes right into the 2-minute deal as well. If we wanted to throw some situations in there or whatnot, and we can flip the hash, and a lot of times our offense will script that period, so their hashes line up and all that pretty stuff that offense likes to do. But that's been a good drill for us to do with tempo and 2 minutes. So.
Yeah, I would say too, just from a high school perspective, again, practice-wise, the 2-minute drill is tough. It's easy to practice offensively,
right.
But it's very tough to practice defensively. So one thing I've found is, we'll get our nickel package or our dime package, whatever it is out there, and then, give me the next best group of wideouts that I can take, and forget about what the other team does. Just run our own stuff, because they probably know it. They know the hand signals. We tell the defense not to cheat, and we can try to get that in that way, and that at least gives us a little bit of a look. But we tried to focus less on the other team and what they do, and more on just the situation of actually playing, against the tempo and in the 2 minutes. So, Coach,
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree I agree with what you're saying, because we do it against good on good, because it's more about the mechanics than it is, about what you're seeing, and just trying to get them into those things. And the only other thing I'll say too is don't be afraid to blitz, because most offenses, you're always running the shit, and it's always, zone and this and that and all. But, particularly when it starts to get around that 50-yard line, like to throw a blitz or two in just to try to, knock them off schedule again and jolt them a little bit. But it's, like I know when we played Mississippi State and beat them when I was at Maine, we were a really good blitz team. We were really good this, and we're trying to play 2-minute, prevent, and they're fucking chunking it down the field. And, finally, Kaz calls timeout. There's like 4 seconds left, and we're in the huddle, and I'm like, hey, you guys may think I'm crazy, but we're going to run, we ran a zero blitz, and And you know how Kaz can keep us cool. He
Yeah.
scratching his head walking away from me when that was going on. And, I'm like, well, we got this far with it, so let's, it just taught me to keep the pressure on the offense too. At that point, don't give in just because it's 2 minute. Now don't be stupid, but at the same point in time, keep forcing the issue a little bit.
Yeah, quickest way to stop one of those drives is a turnover, right?
Oh yeah.
That's the best way you can do it. Jared, wanted to ask you about call sheet. When you set up your call sheet for a game, is it dictated by down and distance, or is there a different way that you're doing that?
Basically, like first and second down by personnel, favorite calls, and then the situations, third down, is broken down specific, and then red area, short yardage goal line, 2 minute, those final plays, those are on the other side of the game plan, and then just your base first and second down calls basically by personnel.
Coach Nagy, how about you?
No, it's a lot the same way. The only thing I've done, and this has been a big help to me, is like second down calls. I get a report each week, an after report I call it, and it's how did they get to second down? How did they get to second and long? How did they get to second and medium? How did they get to second and short? Was it, was it a pass? Was it a run? What came next? After that first down play. So, if it's a first down incomplete, it's second and long. What's the next play? Is it a run tendency? A lot of teams, when you break it down, if they're incomplete on first, there'll be a run tendency on second, as opposed to a run that's 0 and then maybe pass on second and 10. So it's trying to keep up with that part. So I got the calls of what we want, but it's also knowing during the course of the week, all right, well, trying to predict this is a run or this is a pass, depending on what that after report's telling me a little bit.
Nice. Kenny and Spencer, for you guys, in terms of rotations and substitutions and between your personnel packages, how many guys are you playing in a game? Do you have set rotations set up maybe at certain positions? How are you handling that? Coach Treschitta, you can go first.
Yeah, we want to play a lot of people on defense. That's earned, not given. It keeps guys fresh in the fourth quarter. It keeps guys fresh at the end of the season. It gets more guys game ready, so that if there is an injury and guy's now going from playing 13 plays a game to 30, he's at least more game ready. So we want to play a lot of people. It keeps guys fresh in the fourth quarter, keeps guys fresh at the end of the season. We have substitution patterns, scheduled substitution patterns for our guys, and then we'll personnel it. Our dime, our nickel, our third down linebackers, our D-line sub package. But we want to play a lot of people on defense, and it gives guys a role, and it keeps guys fresh. So I know for the inside linebackers, third series, the second group of inside linebackers is going in. So that now the inside linebackers know that during the week. They know, the backups know second series they're in, and so we're trying to play a lot of people on defense. And again, it keeps guys fresh, and we have scheduled substitution patterns usually for the first half.
Coach Carey, how about you guys?
Yeah, so we're similar. I won't hit on all of the position groups, but for me personally, we like Coach Kenny was saying, we need our guys fresh in the fourth quarter. So this year, and I think it all depends on how many guys you have that are ready to play too, obviously. But so for example, we had 4 corners, 5 towards the end of the year, but and my big thing was we'd never have both of our ones out at the same time. So we'd find a way to have a 1 in there when a 2 came in. We did a really good job with a freshman corner who ended up starting with us. He'd take every third series, so he was always in with a starting safety, just so he could be comfortable getting his calls and things like that. And then second half, we kind of go with whoever's hot. We expect it obviously to be our number one guys, but whoever's not in obviously has to be ready to go too, because we're still going to keep them fresh in the second half. But I think a big thing on that is having your guys aware of your game plan during the week. I know for me personally, and that's something that I always appreciated as a player, was the coach being honest with me throughout the week. Obviously telling me to get ready, but understanding what my role was going to be during that week. So that's something that I think our guys appreciate that I do. Let them know that their number could be called, but understand kind of what the circumstances are, so they're ready to go.
Awesome. I'll finish up with this one for Coach Nagy and Coach Backus, and then we'll open it up for questions from the audience. Tell me about protocol for adjustments that you make in game and maybe specifically at halftime. Coach Backus, you want to take that one first?
Man, so obviously if it goes batshit haywire, then I go up something that we did this year I thought was good is, I was always on the field, and I went up in the press box because I had one guy with me, and I had the guys by position coaches on the field, because a lot of times, you work with a group all week, and then you're up in the press box, and then someone else is trying to maybe communicate with them. So, I thought that was really good, meaning the D-line coach was on the field. I could tell him what was wrong. He knew, and then that's the group that he works with, and he did all the position meetings. The linebacker coach was with the linebackers, and we had our corners coach was with the secondary. So I thought that was good. We'll try not to make a whole lot of adjustments in the first half, though. Like I said, unless something's just blown. And then when we get in at halftime, we'll just take a look at, I'll ask the guys just to chart something that might be wrong that we're picking up. The linebackers aren't keying right on the away play or whatever. We played this wrong. And just to make some subtle corrections real quick, and then the guys go with their positions and make corrections, and we go from there. Don't try to do a whole lot, though, man, because tried to do that one or two times, and it just is not going well. So be concise. Like I said, if something needs to be, corrected, it's like you didn't prep for empty, and they're going to give you 80 shots of empty. That's different, but, just try to have something recorded during the first half. Get in there, make it quickly, talk to the staff quickly, get them with their position groups, and that's about it. So I don't know if that answers it. I know it's vague, but
No,
if there's a lot of adjustments, you're fucked anyway. So,
it's good. I'm sure you guys can hear my kids yelling. Clearly, Jackson just won some game with Kansas City and Pat Mahomes. and for all the old school guys, Sawyer just pulled a 95 Auto Graham out of a pack on Madden.
Yeah.
I didn't know Auto Graham was even in Madden. So that's great.
That's awesome.
Coach Nagy, how about you with some of the adjustment stuff?
Biggest thing, start with, in game, I give everybody assignments where I want their eyes. So, you may have this half of the line to the field, that half of the line to the boundary, safeties to the boundary. I'll usually watch the linebackers because that's who I work with, and that helps me with full field. But, try to tell the guys, don't get caught up in the game. Make sure you're watching your position areas so that I can get feedback on what's going right or what's going wrong. So I think that's a huge thing, and we work on that during the course of the week, during practice too, because I'll have them positioned whether they're on the field or up in the box. If it's a in the box guy during practice, I'll have him off on the side, so it's like he's not there, during practice, so he can't, so to speak, talk to his kids, because he's not going to be there on Saturday to help him through things. So it's trying to get that part done, and the other part is just watching game film. A big thing I always try to see is, okay, what do they do well, and what and what can we take away, and then once we take it away, just don't watch the cutoffs, but watch the game tape, because once we take it away, what is their answer? And what do we have to anticipate them going to? So, like, once we feel like we got maybe something taken away, okay, they're going to go to this, so I got to start calling things to help that, so to speak. So it's having a sense that, hey, get ready to show them something different, because I'm trying to cross him up a little bit too. We just took this away. I know you're going to this. We'll take this away, and that's a perfect game, obviously, when everything's going well. You know what I mean? But like Jared said, shit starts hitting the fan. It's sort of like all man for himself, and it's you're trying to come up with things really quickly. But the problem is you go in wanting to take away their top stuff, and if it's not working, sometimes it's like, all right, what do we do now? You know what I mean? You got to stay with the plan and try to work the kids through it, because now all of a sudden all that practice time goes out the window, and next week they're going to look at you like you don't know what the hell you're doing. So it's so staying with it through those tough times and figuring it out a little bit, try to help them through it. But like I said, it's more like having the adjustment plan on what you want to get to before it becomes that, so to speak. So and I'll have calls too where we may practice three calls a week versus their top things, and I may have 4 and 5 in my back of my head in case shit starts hitting the fan, that we can maybe settle it down a little bit. But and what I found most of the time, if shit's hitting the fan, just go back to your base, go to what they know best. Let them get their feet underneath them, and hope to God they can work their way out of it a little bit. So that's for lack of a better term, it's just go back to the basics and hope for the best.
Hey, add one thing to what Rich said too. What you did during the week is basically the first half. So yeah, you're coaching to get in at halftime. What you did all week's already done. So you're basically calling off your call sheet, and make sure you call, whatever you did. If you plan to pressure to take away the RPO, then make sure you get all that called in the first half. Get it called before they do, and then that's important. So.
Yeah, no, that gives you a good menu at halftime to go through and and see what's working and what you can do there. I know we've always taken kind of we call it like a toolbox approach, where we're going to start out with our basic stuff, and then you try to find that balance between staying a step ahead, but also not overreacting and going outside of what you do well. So if we always have some adjustments planned, if they start hurting us with this, then this is the answer. Almost like you would do with an offensive approach, same deal. Like, if this is how they're taking away this particular thing, this is our answer to that. We try to take a similar approach on defense. And if you have the kids kind of, thinking about that too, then when you make those adjustments in the game, it's not, completely foreign to them. They've heard it at least before in practice. Maybe we haven't repped it a ton, but we've at least, made them aware of it. So that was a cool session, man. That was great stuff. I'm gonna let guys click on and ask some questions of you guys, and we'll finish it up that way. But I say this, on a lot of these, but these roundtables have been awesome. For me to just sit here and fire questions at a bunch of the great minds of the game that we've gotten to know, has been great stuff. So, Coach Twitch, you were first on. You got something you want to ask? Gonna unmute you here.
There we go. Sorry about that. I appreciate you guys doing this. This is awesome. I like what Coach Hath said. This is very informative, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. Coach Nagy, could you go over that? I think earlier in the session we were talking about circuits, the push fumble you said?
Yeah.
Could you just go over that again?
Basically, ball's on the ground. We're going to talk to the guys about 2 hands together, push down on the ball and pick it up, as opposed to try to get underneath and scoop it. Because usually when they go to try to scoop it, they stay stiff-kneed and they sort of bobble it, where when you push, you're forcing them down on the ball. And it's sort of like a pick it, we say pick and scoop instead of like scoop,
Okay.
More than anything.
Right. Great. Thank you. Coach Carey, could you talk about that Bobcat drill a little bit more?
Yeah, I was actually trying to find film on it. That's why I didn't bring it up originally, but I didn't road ready any of it. So we'll start, right? Offense is facing out. We're on the 10-yard line. There's 2 coaches behind the defense. And each coach, we usually carry 2 balls with us just to keep things rolling. So offense runs their play, quick whistle. We'll have a coach on the opposite hash, 10 yards up the field. He'll spot the ball. Offense will run to the ball, get set, get the call, and now we're rolling. Next play will be on the 30. Usually we alternate hashes, but obviously that's up to you and what the offense is trying to get done. And we'll go right down the field, and usually we'll do 10 plays to get to the other end zone. We'll flip it around and come back with our 2s, obviously depending on your depth and stuff like that. But again, a good way to get the blood flowing right out of the gate, and get that competitiveness going right off the gate too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you very much.
Coach Capone?
Coach Hathaway, what's happening?
Not much, man. It's
I
been
can't
great.
believe you were talking about you had a toolbox for defense. Number one, I beg to differ.
You gotta remember, too, I started as a defense guy. I was a defense guy before I did anything on offense.
Yeah, Mike, and I used to have hair down on my shoulders too, okay? Fellas, I just want to say thanks a lot, Jared, Rich, Kenny, Spencer. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, just a lot of really good stuff. And, you know, from bottom of my heart, you guys have been awesome. I really appreciate it. And it means a lot to all of us, you guys, you know, reaching out and giving us a lot of great insights, a couple of laughs. That's what it's all about. It's about relationships, man. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank
Awesome,
you.
Coach. Coach Goff, you got a question or two?
Yes, I do. Man, I assume most of what you're defending these days is some form of spread. Most college football I've seen, especially at the major college level, a lot of what's been showed on tape here. You see a ton of shotgun. You see spread formations. You see a lot of that. My question is, how often do you see the old school condensed power type run heavy offense and or triple option attack? And if you do see that, which I assume would be on a not so frequent basis, is it tough to defend because most of the year you're defending spread offenses, and then maybe that one or two obscure week you have to defend that type of offense?
First of all, before they answer, Coach Morin wants no questions about triple option in these defensive clinics. He's made that very clear.
That's my next question besides tight end wing.
Go ahead. What do you guys want to tackle that?
Yeah, I mean, we don't – you see it a little bit, you know, under center. I actually think I saw it more this year than I had the last 10 years, you know, because some of the offenses were more under center in this league, which was fun to see. But it's – I think the hardest part with it is just because it's a much more physical type of situation, and try to get them ready, particularly with your up front kids, because – you know, sometimes you're always trying to get off the ball, get up. But, you know, the stuff in spread isn't as physical as the stuff under center, particularly when you start putting the tight ends and different things. And, you know, then you have to rely more on numbers in the run game. You know, it used to be you could go 8-man box, 9-man box, and, you know, that wasn't working and figure it out. Where now it's almost like you got to go to the 9-man box stuff sooner. And you're putting your corners out there on islands, which, you know, becomes the terrifying thing. And I know I've worked with offensive coaches, you know, like they felt like the spread didn't allow a lot of big shots, so to speak, because everybody was playing zone to them, where they got into 2 tight end offenses. They got one-on-one matchups on the outside. So, you know, they can max protect and go. And I think sometimes that's the scary part, because you're trying to rely more on numbers these days than just knocking people back and taking stuff up. But again, it goes back to, you know, try to get in our preseason camp, making sure that we sort of go through every offense we're going to face during the year. So when we do get to the 2-back stuff, it's more of a review than it is the first time we're seeing it, you know. So try to take a lot of camp time in that. There's nothing we can really do about the physical part sometimes, except to practice that week. But it's just making sure our preseason camp is set that, I always want to make sure we're, all the calls we need for the first 3 games are in our preseason installs, and then any other thing. So if it's 2 back, 2 tight end, triple option stuff, we're going to spend time on. If we're facing triple option, we'll face triple option in camp a couple times, even though it may be week 7, because I don't want to get to week 7 and, we're trying to install a whole new defense, so to speak, or a whole new mindset. So it's more of those types of things have to take place in your preseason planning.
Is the adjustment, like you said, just as simple as loading the box with 8 and 9 men on a run-heavy 2 tight end set?
Really, that's about it. And I'm afraid of blitzing it sometimes because we can get out of whack. So it's just, it's just trying to, like I said, it's more about the numbers than worrying about the pass game. Because like I said, the pass game is going to be the one that I get. So if they got big shots in the pass game, then I'm a little bit concerned because we could try to do some things with some leverages on the front and movements and things like that to help. But the problem is if the movements. I was talking with our D-line coach today, and that's one thing that we got to get better at is our movement points and being more upfield with our movements. Too many times we're too lateral, getting washed across things where we got to know where to penetrate and where to punch, to get through some things. And to me, it still comes more about aim points than it does anything. Are you a long movement, you're a short movement, whatever it may be, but what's the aim point? Who are you targeting? Where's the target? Where do you have to stay? How do you take it on? All those types of things. But yeah, I think if you can get your movements to be, hard enough field, then I think it's another thing that you can do to help yourself a little bit with like power offenses. But again, it's become more difficult. Let's put it to you that way.
Yeah, Coach Goff, I know Coach Bonavie spoke to this the other night in the defensive coordinator one that we had. We played Wells this year, week 6, and oddly enough, I think every other team that we played the entire season was a spread team, which is kind of like the reverse of what it was maybe 4 years ago. So like Coach mentioned in the preseason, we actually, when we first installed and started working against an offense in the preseason, we started against the wing T, knowing that, our backer reads against that, the 3-4 would, that was going to help us. That was something that would carry over. But also knowing that eventually we're going to see that, and we certainly didn't want, that week to be the first time. So we actually installed against the wing T, knowing that our scrimmage and our exhibition were also spread teams, and that we would have plenty of time to get ready for the spread that way. So we spent the initial part of the preseason a bunch on the wing T, especially in our inside run and our team periods. And then when we got to the regular season, we had at least 6 wing T plays in the defensive script per week. So it wasn't a ton, but it was enough. Like, on Wednesday when we did team defense, we finished with 6 wing T plays every time. Or we started with 6 wing T plays every time. And, that way when we got to that final week, it was just a reminder to those guys of, this is the way we've been practicing this since August. And it worked pretty well for us. And we stacked the box like crazy. We had 10 guys in the box every single play that game, regardless of the down or distance. So, did any of you guys face a triple option, like under center, true triple option team this year? Anybody?
Next year we will. And when I was at Becker, we played Gallaudet and we played SUNY Maritime, which were both triple option, and tackle the dive, tackle the quarterback, make the ball get pitched, which is what we try. Were our big things. We didn't deviate too much from our calls. We were 3-4. We were zone pressure. We were 3-4 quarters, and then try and tackle the dive, tackle the quarterback, make that ball get pitched to the perimeter was what we, again, this was 13 and 14 when I was at Becker, and we played Gallaudet, SUNY, we're both triple teams. So just try and, take away the dive and the quarterback and make that thing get pitched.
Playing Gallaudet's a different deal, huh?
Oh, yeah.
When you play that, it's a school for the deaf. We played them when I was in college down in North Carolina, and they use like bass drums for the snap counts and everything. It was a really strange game, and the lack of verbal communication on the field. It was a different experience playing those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Coach Goff, do you have another question?
No, that was it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Coach Moore.
No, you quieted me down with the last question.
Skip had asked about tight end wing. Jared, you want to talk about lining up to that?
Tight end wing. Everything's tight end wing with Coach Capone.
Okay, I open up with it week one.
I'll give you.
America,
you're going to see it plenty in the exhibition too.
I'll give you one thing that I just was taught in a 3-4 with your outside backers. Don't soften up to it. If you play a 3-4 and you get a tight end wing, I believe you put the guy right on the guy's nose. And if he's the force guy, if it's backer force, he attacks the outside jaw of it. And if it's not backer force, it's cloud outside him, he attacks the guy's inside jaw. And, if he's got drop responsibility, he could drop out. But force the issue on a tight end wing because it's, like you guys are talking about options and empties and all, if someone does the tight end wing, like obviously Skip uses it, that's an issue like FSL or no huddle or anything, and you have to be able to address it. I think you just have to know how you're, like Rich is saying, aim points. And I always like to put a linebacker right over it and force the issue, and work from there rather than soften up, because they get movement there on that, And then sometimes we wouldn't always split the pair with our blitzer. Sometimes we would decide to take the blitzer and bring him outside just because they knew we always split the pair with our blitzer off the edge. So, for whatever that.
Rich, you're a 4-man front. How do you attack it? How do you align the tight end wing?
If we're seeing that, we're usually playing a 9 technique over there with a 3. Yep. And it's the same thing Jared's talking about. We're going to attack that area. We're going to hit it hard. And, and the thing I always try to do is never put a kid in a situation where he can get doubled without immediate help, so to speak. So, we got to make sure we get another type of thing outside of it too. So you just can't, take that guy and drive his ass out there. So, it's about, putting them in those situations and then sometimes, it's staying there, moving down and trying to change it up a little bit. But it's, it's like Jared says, I think try to attack it as hard as you can,
yep.
And make it a hard day for them. I think that's the biggest equalizer, in football is how aggressive you can be, and if you get those guys to understand, hey, we're going to go blow that thing up and work it that way. And then we'll figure things out from there.
Good. Thank you.
Awesome. Coach McLaughlin, you got anything down there?
Yeah, I do. Actually, I've about a million things. I've been coaching offense the last 2 years. It feels really good to be back with the good guys. But I guess the 2 specific things I'd like to ask about just from a situational standpoint, what's kind of your philosophy on handling black zone, -5 to -1, and then 2-point conversions, and to kind of piggyback off that too, how do you scout that? How do you plan for it, especially if it's, you can go through a whole season or, 6-7 games and not necessarily have any film on that throughout the course of a year. So, how do you prepare for that without necessarily having your opponent on film in that situation?
Anybody want to go there first? Jared?
Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, is that backed up like the offense is?
Correct.
All right, so situationally, we just talk about, alert shot, alert DJ, don't jump off sides. So a lot of times, you're going to get a hard count, so, they'll try to get it out of there, get you to jump off sides and, get it out of there that way. So, and alert for a shot, if a team likes to throw shots there with a matchup. So alert shot, alert DJ, and we'll always try to stem them down there. So if a team's backed up on P and 10, I always like to put a move, Rich, our old move tough and all, just to get them unsettled down there. Because if they're going to use a hard count, we're going to hard count them. So just to sort of, like Rich says, apply the pressure a little bit, And then the other thing is know when you're playing, like Rich mentioned, a 2-minute. Like I've made the mistakes. I'm pissed off. I don't like the guy at Brown. I whistle off a pressure, and the guy goes into a drive and they score at the end of the first half instead of playing prevent. So just know situationally, you might have to try to score down there. So you might have to try to blitz them, but if you get a stop and they punt, you're going to get the ball in great field position. So being really situationally aware, alert shot, alert DJ, and, maybe give them a move call.
Gotcha.
Now, going back, like Jared said, I think, when we talk to the kids, it's like, hey, we're willing to give up 1 first down there, but not 2, because even if we give up 1, we're going to get the ball in good field position. So, hopefully there's like you said, like sometimes you don't have a ton. I'll go back, be honest with you, I'll go back on guys 3, 4, even 5 years, play calling to see if I can, like, if we don't have enough tape on it, I'll try to library it a little bit. But, yeah, it's, just sort of knowing that they're probably going to go to their best call and what's their best call at that point, because they're trying to get the ball out. And like I said, I'd like to keep it there, but like I said, if we can only give up 1 first down, I think that's a win, because we're still going to get the ball back in great field position.
And then what are you guys thinking on the 2-point
Guys hate to
conversion?
practice that.
Yeah.
Guys hate to practice that situation, but if you work, it's just like the red area or short yardage goal line or third down. If you try to get a win there, you're going to score. So you got to practice it. They hate it, but
yeah, 2 points, 2-point conversions. Again, you're trying to think, what are you going to see? Flood routes, different things, whatever it's going to be, and scheme against it a little bit. But at the same point in time, if it's a critical sit, I'll let them line up, then call timeout. Because I want to see the formation and, at least try to have an idea in my head or force them to their second play, because they think you might know the first, even though we have no idea. Sometimes you give us too much credit, but so saving timeouts is critical. But at the end, if you have to, you got to go with your best like low red call, and really hope for the best. Hate to say it, but that's what it comes down to.
Well, I love you, Coach Nagy.
Anything else, fellas? Anybody got another question they want to fire away before we close this thing down? You guys all good? All right, man. Really appreciate it. That was awesome.
Thanks, John. See you guys.
Hey, thank you
for
very
having
much.
me.
It's been awesome.
You guys were all invited Friday night, 7 o'clock.
Is it 7 o'clock?
Coach Capone?
Yeah, at 5:30 we have some college head coaches, some of the guys from Maine, and we're gonna have another guest in there as well. It's gonna be a good one. I'm gonna unveil it probably tonight when I send the email out. But something that you guys want to be there for if it all works out. That's gonna be at 5:30. Coach Carr is gonna be on. A lot of the Maine coaches, and then the one other, and then at 7 we're gonna move to Coach's Social Hour. And we're going to kind of quickly present our Coach of the Year awards, and then we're just going to throw some beverages back.